Have you ever looked at a construction project and wondered what really separates the ones that run smoothly from the ones that just get bogged down in delays and problems? Well, it's not just about the blueprints. It really comes down to two key things: specifications and submittals. So today, we're going to dive into how mastering these two concepts can bring some serious order to all that potential chaos.
And that quote just hits the nail on the head. It's those details where projects either succeed or fail. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. We're going to give you the playbook to master those details and turn that chaos into controlled, predictable success.
I mean, just look at these two realities. On the left, you've got the old way, which so many people are still stuck in, right? Stacks of paper, spreadsheets that are a total mess, and constant phone calls just trying to figure out what's going on. But then, on the right, that's the new way. A clean, single source of truth where everyone is on the same page. This isn't just about making things look nice. It's the difference between calm, controlled work and just expensive, frustrating confusion.
And the stakes here, they are incredibly high. Check out these numbers. A jaw-dropping 80% of large construction projects go over budget, and 20% of them finish late. A huge part of that waste comes directly from mismanaging the very details we're talking about right now.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to lay the foundation and talk about why specs rule everything. Then, we'll get into the proof, which are the submittals. After that, we'll walk through the whole workflow, pinpoint where things usually go wrong, and finally, we'll look at how digital tools are completely changing the game. All right, let's start at the very beginning. Every single construction project has a kind of legal and technical DNA that governs, well, everything. We call these the specifications. Think of the specs as the project's official rulebook. And I mean that literally. They are legally binding documents. They spell out exactly what materials to use, how you need to install them, and what the final quality has to be. It is the written word that defines the project. Now here's something that is absolutely critical to remember. If there is ever a disagreement between what you see on the drawings and what's written in the specs win. Every single time. They are the final authority on what the designer intended. So you might be thinking, a spec book could be thousands of pages long. How on earth does anyone find anything? Well, that's where the CSI MasterFormat comes in. It's kind of like the Dewey Decimal System, but for construction. It organizes everything into 50 standard divisions, so whether you're working on concrete, finishes, or electrical, everyone's speaking the same language. It's the system that makes these incredibly complex projects even possible. Okay, so if the specifications are the rule book, how does the design team actually know that the contractor is going to follow those rules before they start building? Well, the answer lies in the proof, and that proof is called submittals. I absolutely love this analogy. Submittals are basically the construction world's way of saying, show your work. Before a contractor can order a single light fixture or a single piece of steel, they have to submit all this documentation to prove that what they plan to use actually meets the standards written in the specs. And what does this proof actually look like? Well, the vast majority, a full 70%, is what we call product data. Just think of those manufacturer spec sheets for things like paint or windows. The rest is made up of stuff like custom shop drawings for fabrication and even physical samples, so an architect can literally see and touch a brick finish before thousands of them are ordered for the job. So how does a proposed material get from just an idea to an approved part of the building? Well, it has to pass through a really specific workflow. Think of it as a critical quality assurance filter. Here's how it works. First, the subcontractor who's actually doing the work puts the submittal package together. Then, and this is a really crucial step, it goes to the general contractor, who has to review and stamp it first. Only after the GC signs off does it finally go to the design team, the architects and engineers, for their final review and official response. And once they've reviewed it, you're going to get one of 4 possible responses. No exceptions taken is the big green light. You're good to go. Order the material. Furnish as noted is still an approval, but with some minor comments. But revise and resubmit, that's a stop sign. It means there are major issues you have to fix. And rejected? Well, that means you're going all the way back to square one. Now, this whole process is designed to ensure quality. But let's be honest. It's also where things can go terribly wrong. It's where you get these bottlenecks that cause massive delays and make costs just balloon. I want you to look at this number. Every single time a submittal gets rejected, it costs the project, on average, $805 in lost time and rework. Now, multiply that by hundreds of rejections on a big project, you can see how quickly the costs spiral completely out of control. So the natural question is, right,
Where does the system actually break down? What are the most common failure points?
You know, the culprits are almost always the same on every project that's struggling. You've got that classic spreadsheet chaos where nobody's really sure who's supposed to do what next. You've got version control nightmares where somebody orders 1,000 windows based on an old drawing. Each one of these isn't just a small headache, it's a direct line to blowing the budget and the schedule.
The solution to all this? It's really about making a fundamental shift, moving away from that constant project chaos and into a state of total project control. And that happens through digital transformation. Really, optimizing this entire workflow boils down to 3 key steps. First, you have to standardize your documents and templates. Second, you've got to set crystal clear processes and responsibilities. And third, the real game changer, using digital tools to automate all the tracking and bring everyone together to collaborate. This alone eliminates most of the problems we just talked about.
Which kind of brings us to a critical question. Are you tired of trying to run a multi-million-dollar construction site with a patchwork of messy spreadsheets and chaotic WhatsApp groups?
If that sounds way too familiar, it's probably time for a real solution. Lementai.com is the construction management platform that was built specifically to get you out of that spreadsheet trap. It replaces all the mess with a single, streamlined digital workflow that gives you complete control over your specs, your submittals, and all your approvals.
It really is time to ditch the chaos and digitalize your workflow. And the best part is, you can start for free today at Lementai.com.
This explainer was brought to you by Lementai. We really hope you found it useful. Thanks so much for watching.